high rapper, man hour. You already know. It's live. It's raw. It's going down. Like this. I'm going around and letting everybody know that they welcome to the show. It's the latest thing you ever seen, you already know. Let me introduce you to your host of the hour. It's Mike and Mike. Yeah, it's the man hour. Got the hottest plays, all the breaking news. Every rumor, every trade, every breaking bruise. Tighten up the screws. Yeah, it's going down. Had you saying what the fuck and never watered down. It's going down. I'll be rolling up. And if you buy it or you sell it, then you make the cut. Watch me flip it back. I can double up. I got sriracha for that ass, I'ma burn it up. Gotta check the rules, know that it be fair and foul. Rep throw the whistle, coach throw the towel. We can do this on the field, on side the lines. It's the man hour though, now we going live.
And what is up, guys? Michael Buckhouse here with the Mike and Mike Man Hour. If you guys are new here, consider heading over to the Mike and Mike Man Hour YouTube page and hitting that subscribe button. That would mean the world to me today. We were sitting about 1,600 subscribers. We'd like to get up to 1,700 by the end of the month. That would be fantastic. We've got an excellent show for you guys on tap for today, I should say. It is Tuesday. That means we welcome Matt Benz into the show and his power rankings. So, Matt, are you ready? Let's go ahead and bring in Matt right into this show.
Always ready, Buck.
Man.
You already know.
Yeah, so, Matt, we had two NFL games last night. You had the Kansas City Chiefs surviving versus the Patriots, and then you had the Green Bay Packers pretty much walloping the Atlanta Falcons at the end of the day. Did you put any stock into those games in your power rankings moving forward?
No, I mean they were clean enough to keep them exactly where they were. I mean, still I think Kansas City has the edge right now just because of Patty, but that doesn't mean Aaron Rodgers isn't playing out of his mind as well. So I think having them where they are, staying where they are, that kind of edges out the top of the list. So
yeah, I was, of course, I am an avid trash talker in our trash talk groups, like obviously, and then I see people saying there that the Patriots would have beat the Kansas City Chiefs last night if they would have had Cam Newton. News alert: Cam Newton doesn't play defense for the New England Patriots. He plays offense. So I'm not for sure how big a difference that would have really made, because the Kansas City Chiefs offense plays to the level of the competition. So if they're going for point, we would have saw a totally different game, but we didn't. Do you think Cam Newton playing last night hurt the New England Patriots at all?
I do. I think it hurt them just not having their leader, their captain on the squad out on the field. I think Cam is obviously way more dynamic than Stidham and the bum that started the game. Help me out.
Boyer.
Exactly. It's just like, so you get Cam out there, you're going to have the more electricity, I think. But like you said, I think Patty would have brought that next level as well. I think they could kind of coast through this week knowing that it was all the chaos with COVID and things of that nature and not having Cam. I think KC just realized we just need a W and let's move on to next week.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game for so we were talking about the Chiefs-Patriots game where the Chiefs did outlast the New England Patriots in the end. This was a win-win situation for the New England Patriots and a lose-lose situation for the Kansas City Chiefs, meaning no matter how the Chiefs won last night, they were going to say the only reason why you won because Cam Newton wasn't there. And if the Patriots were to win the game, they said, oh, the Patriots are that good, and they lost like they did. They say, well, we lost because Cam Newton wasn't there. Do you agree with those statements there?
Oh, completely. It was completely a brilliant take on how they could have a loophole into the next loss of their season. It just leaves the door wide open for excuses, and it leaves Belichick in the background not having to get the blame for the loss. And I mean, it kind of is. I mean, for those people that I've heard that said that Stidham would have been just fine as their starting quarterback this season, eat your feet. Like, put your boot in your mouth right now, because the dude's trash. He's not a backup quarterback, and that's why he was a third-string quarterback, and it showed last night.
Right. So the Patriots were probably going to be without Cam Newton for another week. I'm not for sure what the quarantine process is right now, if it's 10 days, 14 days, or just two or three negative tests in a row, because I believe he's already testing negative for COVID. If the Patriots were to lose their next game, without Cam, is that going to put stock into your rankings moving forward, like at all?
Not really. So are you saying that if they were to win without Cam or lose without
If they
Cam?
were to lose without Cam next week?
Right now, I mean, as you can see, and everybody else will see, they're not in right now, and I don't think another loss is gonna be significant. I don't see them getting back into the rankings without 2 more wins, and that better come soon, because if you're stacking 2 losses before those 2 wins, you're not making it back in. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So speaking of dropping people from the top 10 here, before we start releasing the top 10 here live on the Mike and Mike Man Hour, you did drop 2 teams out of the top 10, one being which is San Francisco 49ers, even though they played a okay game versus the Philadelphia Eagles, littered with injuries. Why did you finally drop them out of your top 10?
Just a loss to Philly. I mean, Philly in of itself is not a good squad. I mean, they don't have starters for most positions, and that's why when you lose to Philly like that, even though you got Mullins, I mean, Kittle was the 49ers that whole game, just totally went beast mode on them. But that doesn't mean they can't get back in. You know, I still am high on San Fran. I don't know why. But they're just a good squad to me, and I think that they're on that borderline. But with that L, like I said, I'm going to need to see 2 more wins out of them, and they better come soon.
Okay, and speaking of the other team that you did drop, you kind of alluded to it earlier, the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
Did the loss to Kansas City ultimately drop them out of that, or are you seeing other things happen?
I think the loss contributed to it, but also the teams that I moved up into the top 10, I think they contributed more. I think that was more of the benefactor of the whole thing, is just that these 2 teams that I moved up are playing better than the 2 teams that dropped out. And that's how mine works. So
yeah, and speaking of the teams that are playing better, let's go ahead and jump in at number 10. You do have the Cleveland Browns coming after a week 1 loss to the Baltimore Ravens, 38-6. They have rattled off 3 straight wins, beating the Bengals 35-30, the football team 34-20, and outlasting the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday 49-38. Explain, why do you have the Browns in the top 10 right now?
Yeah, so first and foremost, with that 3-1 record, I like that as well. I mean, for the Browns to only have 1 loss at this point in the season is pretty incredible in of itself, especially since I still don't have a lot of faith in Baker Mayfield. Another thing that really hurts them, especially with that injury to Nick Chubb, but the way that they're playing and being creative on the offensive side of the ball, that electricity comes out and looks like they're actually having fun. They're actually utilizing an Odell Beckham Jr., which is huge in of itself as well. I am very excited to see them play the Colts, who I'm a hype train on them, but that defense, and to see what they can do in that matchup, it's going to be a real tough one for them. And I think it will benefit them that they are at home, regardless of how many fans are in the stands.
Right, and just to add to your point there, Nick Chubb is out until, I believe it was six weeks. They put him on the IR for, but they still have 2 outstanding running backs back there. One being which is Kareem Hunt. So I don't see any drop off in the running game whatsoever, because Kareem Hunt is a starter on any other team in the NFL, I think, this year, besides maybe the Dallas Cowboys.
Sure.
So with that being said, you did to allude that they are 3-1, but look at the 3 wins that they've had against the Bengals, the football team, and then the Cowboys. Yes, the Cowboys are still going to probably win the NFC East, and their record right now does not reflect what the Dallas Cowboys are going to be toward the end of the season. But do you really put stock in those 2 of those 3 wins there?
It's hard to, right? Because, I mean, you got the Washington football team, and you said the Bengals was the other one, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that is tough in of itself, but I think those are two teams. Well, at least the Bengals are a team that's on the up and up, and things of that nature, and they're still competing, whether it's not at a completely high level. But for them to keep pace with Dak, who given point, I mean, he had a lot of garbage time stats that came into play there, but still to keep up with that team and do what they did. And like I said, they are an explosive team. Can their defense rebound and from giving up 38 points? That will be tough, because the Colts don't put up a lot of points. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens when it comes down to like old school, play-by-play football and not being a shootout.
Yeah, I am. This game is really intriguing me next week, is the Colts versus the Browns, because I am high on the Colts as well. Like, I have them finishing 10-6 on that, on the season, and winning the NFC South, and the AFC South, and with the news coming out of Houston yesterday, I do believe it is almost clear cut and dry that they're going to win that division unless Tennessee decides to show up a little bit here. So you do have the Browns coming in at number 10, and then at number 9 you have a highly good team right now is the LA Rams. They are 3-1 as well, coming off of a win versus the Cowboys, at the Eagles, losing to the Buffalo Bills 35-32, and what people say pass interference call should have changed the game, yada yada yada. Same thing could happen in the Cowboys game. So probably eat your words on that one. And then a 17-9 outlasting of the Giants on Sunday. What are your thoughts about the Rams?
Yeah, so I mean, it is very interesting because they played the Giants this last week and then they play the Washington football team next week. I expect for them to have a bounce back offensively this coming week against Washington, even though, like me and you have talked before, the Washington football team has a decent defense. I mean, it's not elite, but it's still going to give you problems. And if the Giants only allow you to score 17 points, that's scary going into next week. And there's a lot of things that this Rams team needs to work on, but they have the talent. They have the record of 3-1. So that earns them a spot at number 9.
Yeah. So one of my biggest concerns about the Rams moving forward was like, I did pick them to go 5-11 because I with the subtraction of Todd Gurley from the roster, the digression of Jared Goff last season and the performance of like last season, I was really low on them. But right now, people are high on them, being 3-1, winning the way they have won. But are the Rams being overhyped right now a little bit?
Maybe. I still think they got to figure out what they're going to do with Malcolm Brown in the backfield. I think they need to really decide on, is he going to be the way to go, or do you deviate from that option? They are so much more dynamic when they throw the ball, but that obviously depends a lot on Jared Goff's shoulders. He's got Kupp, he's got Higbee, he's got Robert Woods, Gerald Everett, things of that nature. So he's got plenty of options when it comes that way. It's just, can Sean McVay avoid the hype slump? He came in and took everybody by storm, and now all of a sudden it's like, you have a shit year last year, now you need to rebound, otherwise everybody's going to say, it was a mirage, it's not real. So they're an interesting squad, man. I think that they can go the distance, but they can also shit the bed too, so it'll be cool to see what happens.
Do you think the losing of Todd Gurley in the offseason is going to ultimately hurt the Rams in the end, like when it comes down to it? Because right now their leading rusher is somebody that pretty much many people have never heard of, unless you're Cowboys fans, from the playoffs a couple years ago when Henderson ran all over the Dallas Cowboys defense. But Henderson is the leading rusher for the Rams right now, I believe, right about 300 or 400 yards, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
So is the dynamic threat of Todd Gurley not being on the Rams going to hurt them in the end?
As of this year, yeah, it is. I think it will definitely be, just because even if his arthritic knee is still bothering him, even if he's on the injury report week in and week out, it doesn't matter because he's still Todd Gurley. He still holds that respect on the defensive side of the ball. So they have to scheme for that. They have to make decisions when they're planning for that game. Darrell Henderson is a monster, but that's what I think you have to transition into, just letting him be your elite back, your lead back, your number one back. And they have a lot of problems with doing that because they don't want to put so much pressure on one back because it hurt Gurley in the end. So they want to kind of spread out. And that's a lot of what McVay was talking about preseason, in that he wants to have, a stable of backs and not just put the pressure on one, because it eventually takes lifetime away from their backs. So.
Yeah, I mean, a stable back, like the stable backs is kind of the norm in the NFL right now. Even if you look at the Dallas Cowboys, they have arguably the best running back in the league, and they still have a duo back there with Pollard and Zeke. So I definitely see what you're saying there, and good point there. So just to recap, so far you have the Browns at number 10, up from last week. The Rams at number 9, up from last week as well. And then coming in at number 8, we do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost week 1 to the Saints in a pretty good game, 34-23, and they have since rattled off 3 wins versus the Panthers, at the Broncos, and the Chargers as well.
Sure.
Buccaneers at number 8. Many people are high on them, saying Super Bowl champs. Yeah. Are you high on them as well, or like what are your thoughts about the Bucs?
I'm high on Tom Brady. Even with his age, I'm still high on Tom Brady because he's Tom Brady. He is consistent, and until you see the inconsistencies, you kind of have to still ride with it. I think another interesting thing about it is they didn't have Godwin, and what are they going to do? Are they going to have to spread the ball out more? Is it still going to be Mike Evans' freaking show? It's interesting to see. I do think that right now the wins that they have aren't necessarily crazy good. I mean, they beat the Chargers by 7. Yeah, that's nice. But next week against the Bears, which I expect it to still be a blowout, even though the Bears have the defense that they have. I'm just not high on the Bears, and therefore I think they got another W, and then we go from there. But yeah, I'm not as high on the Bucks just because I can see them falling apart. They're like those teams that you see everybody hyping up, and then they just shit the bed, kind of like the Browns last year. Same kind of thing, all that talent in the world, but where does it go? Can it be cohesive, and can they carry it throughout the season? So
much like the Dallas Cowboys, like as well, people saying Super Bowl team every year and their habitual 8-8 team moving forward. So speaking of habitual 8-8 teams, possibly the New Orleans Saints, they have some say struggled a little bit here, but they are 2-2 going into week 5. You had them at number 7 last week at like as well. Recapping their season so far, they beat the Bucks week 1, lost to the Raiders on Monday at Vegas, and they lost to the Packers on Sunday Night Football, and then they come back from 14 down versus the Detroit Lions. But who hasn't come back from 14 down versus the Detroit Lions, like at this point? Yeah. Give me your thoughts on the Saints. Why are they at number 7?
They're at number 7, and they stayed at number 7 because I feel like they beat a very good defense in the Detroit Lions. A lot of people are saying, Detroit will always be Detroit and they'll never change. I still get a lot of respect to that defense. They do pressure the ball, and they also have good DBs. So that's where that kind of left them where they're at. I think the big thing to take out of this last week against the Lions was how Drew Brees performed. I talked about that on Benzie's bit earlier, is just, he allowed himself to be himself. Maybe it's not the cannon, but it's spreading the ball around, and it's not dump off after dump off after dump off. He was able to kind of revert to a little bit and show a little bit of what he's still got left, even though we don't know how much is left in the tank. But it's probably running on empty, but we can see what he's got coming this next week and against the Chargers, and see what a young Herbert can put up against them.
Right, and I think in a very underrated Chargers team, like as well, they went toe to toe with the Bucks last week, and they are a quarterback away, and Herbert could be their answer for the Chargers there. Yeah, but many people are saying that the Saints only won last week was because of Drew Brees. You are saying that he was running on empty. You don't know how much is left in the tank. You guys also have to realize that Michael Thomas has been out since week 1. Could that be the reason why they lost two straight and then struggled last week as well? I mean, you call it struggling, putting up 35 points. You can call it what you want to call it. But once Michael Thomas is back, the Saints are still probably, they're still a 13-3 team, I think.
Right. Yeah. And I think the Saints didn't necessarily struggle this last game against the Lions. I think they struggled a lot more the week before, just because you saw a lot more dump offs to Alvin and things of that nature. And people are saying, Drew Brees is done. He's capped. I don't think he's done after this last week with the Lions. I'll clarify on that, just to see him spread out the ball and do what he's always done in the past. So I think a lot of the big things is, you get Michael Thomas back. Any team in the league that gets Michael Thomas back is going to be a step or 2 or 3 higher. So it's intriguing to see. My big thing is, can Drew Brees stay consistent and not look his age, which is going to be tough to see? And then can that defense pull their head out of their ass and really realize like they are the Saints defense, and they have tons of veteran talent, tons of leadership. They just have to come and wake up. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you are 100% correct about the Saints. So I'm glad you kept them where they're at, because they have a lot to prove, but they also have a lot to lose as well. Very good spot for the Saints. Now going into undefeated teams, you coming in at number 6. You do have the Seattle Seahawks, unchanged from last week as well. The last time the Seattle Seahawks went 4-0 was 2013, and that was the year that they won their Super Bowl. Tell me what you think about the Seattle Seahawks moving forward.
Yeah, so Russ is Russ. He's my MVP right now. I think he's speaking. He does that without even having to worry about it. He is got a little more leash this year. And also Carson has just been a monster. To have a guy that was questionable to be even play, come back quick and do what he's doing in both the passing and the rushing game is awesome to see. The big thing with me is going to be their defense. And, yes, they only gave up 23 points to the Dolphins, and they kind of took that game away. But Lockett didn't even have a reception the whole game, if I'm not mistaken. So that in of itself is crazy to me. But just to see what they're doing, I think Pete Carroll can turn it around defensively and coach these guys up and get them meshing. But that's why I kind of kept them stagnant. I realize they are a 4-0 team, and that does have pull in it. I think they are going to wall up the Vikings this week, and we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, and that is coming from a Vikings fan, as you see the hoodie there, as Mike Rees from Twist Nation, like over there pointed out. But looking at the Seahawks schedule moving forward, they might have the hardest 5 or 6 game stretch in all of the NFL right now. Yes, I am including your Vikings in there because the Vikings, they are a good team. It's just they have a very, very tough schedule. And, things are starting quite quicking right now. But looking at the Seahawks schedule moving forward, they travel to Arizona. They play the 49ers. They're at Buffalo. They're at LA. And then they play the Cardinals again. I mean, I think a 500 span there between those six games is a very, what's the word I'm looking for?
Reasonable.
It is.
I think it's reasonable.
A reasonable expectation. If they go 500 in those next 6 games, do you foresee them being in your top 10 still, or like where do you?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's what they're in a nice spot right now where they can afford to take a couple L's, especially I could see it maybe happening through Buffalo. I think they will take advantage of the Cardinals. But the big thing for me is to realize in those next 6 games, if they win out, they're the undisputed number 1, are they not?
Easily. I mean, like if you are dominating the teams, I don't think the Seahawks are really necessarily dominating teams, but they're winning with style. You cannot say that about the Kansas City Chiefs right now. 2 of their wins were very, very ugly. One being the Chargers and one last night versus the Patriots. Now, if the Seahawks continue to do what they do and the Packers continue to do what they do, I think those are your 1 and 2 teams right there, and like you can flip flop them either way you want, 1A, 1B, to be honest. And right now, I would have the Seahawks probably up at number 2, anyways, above Kansas City Chiefs, to be honest. But I'm pretty high on the Seahawks this year. Awesome. But guys, we are going to take a quick little break here. On the other side of the break, we're going to release the other top 5 of the NFL Power Rankings. This is the Mike and Mike Man Hour, guys. Well, we will be right back. Welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Head over to MikeandMikeManHour.com to get one of these sexy little hats there. And we got hoodies and T-shirts as well. If you don't feel like getting any of that stuff, feel free to drop a donation as well. We'll give you definitely shout-outs when everybody is dropped off a donation like Sloppy Seconds did just the other week. It was just a $5 donation, but everything helps the show improve like a little bit here. So MikeandMikeManHour.com. Check us out. Also, coming up, let me get the banner rolling here. As you guys heard yesterday, I should say, Mike and Mike Man Hour, should say Man Hour After Dark is starting next Monday, 10 p.m. East Coast time. So we'll still come at you on the Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. East Coast time. But then After Dark, Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. East Coast time with my man, Brandon Coombs, myself, and LeBlanc. That sounds dangerous little set up their hum
Oh
ends.
man, that sounds. I'm glad it's after dark because the kids will
Yeah.
hopefully be in bed by then. They won't be able to catch it. They'll probably go to your YouTube page and watch it when the parents aren't watching them. But
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Definitely, man. So my Man Hour After Dark, guys, starting next Monday, 10 p.m. East Coast time, right there on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mike and Mike Man Hour. Now could continue with our power rankings here.
Yep.
Coming at number 5, Benj, you have the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yep.
They have beat the New York Football Giants, the Denver Broncos, and the Texans. And then obviously they had a bye last week with the whole COVID thing that is happening and whatnot. So they dropped from number 3 to number 5 last week without even playing a game. Explain to me why that happened.
Well, I think as a team right now, even though they didn't have to play this week, I still think they're one of the most balanced, if not the most balanced team in the NFL right now.
I like that.
That defense in of itself is going to keep teams low scoring. And I love Big Ben this year. I think the benefit of not playing this last week is going to help them a lot, at least through the middle of the season. It might come back to haunt him towards the end of the year, but to get a James Conner with an extra week of rest, to get, Juju, to get Ben, of course, but then your defensive guys who are taking just a beating because they're so physical. So I do keep them, I like them at the 5 spot. I think that's solid in of itself. It's hard to keep a team that doesn't play when the rest of the league does play. And we'll find that out with bye weeks coming up, like the Pack and stuff like that. But yeah, I like them a lot. I think the 3-0 record speaks for itself, even though it's against teams that aren't exactly good. And hopefully they can run the table on another shitty team in the Eagles.
Right. I hear what you say about the bye week being good for the Steelers, yada, yada. They can hear players, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
But on the flip side, it come week 4. It did not come week 9, week 12. So they have to play 12 games in a row now.
Yep.
Or it's 13 games in a row now, I should say, without a bye week or a break. And if they don't get the best record in the AFC, they don't get a bye week till the end of the season. So you're looking at 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 games in a row for them. And with that being said, yeah, they are a dominant team right now. But if you're looking forward, Steelers fans should probably be holding their breath that nothing happens.
Right, and that's exactly it. I think you almost have to expect the worst to happen, which is an injury to one of your pillars on your team. That's just saying, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they are injury prone everywhere. So for them to not expect an injury, it is what it is. And they have plenty of room to fall down the list. As you see, they're at number 5. I could easily see them being a team that towards the end of the year isn't on the list just because of an injury that could sabotage their season because they're having to stretch guys thin. So we'll see.
Yeah, and Football Talk says hi. What is up, Football Talks? Welcome to the show, Man Hour. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, my man. So we are going over Matt Benz's, as I should bring myself onto the screen here. We're doing Matt Benz's power rankings from the All Access Sports Network. You can also find Matt Benz on Benzi's Bit and also Twist. So Benzi's Bit is aired on Tuesdays at 11:30, I think it is, right?
Right. That's when I go live usually, but otherwise you can listen to it on All Access Sports Network on Fridays. I think that's at 1:00. So.
Right. And then you can listen to live Twist on their Facebook page at 1 p.m. East Coast time, noon Central time when you guys normally go live. But just go head over to the Facebook page and like it, and they'll let you know when they go live.
Yeah, so, and twistsportstalk.com for all other things as well.
There you go. Perfect. Twistsportstalk.com. So just to recap here, we have number 10, the Cleveland Browns. Number 9, the LA Rams. Number 8, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 7, the New Orleans Saints. Number 6, the Seattle Seahawks. Number 5, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then coming in at number 4, we have the Baltimore Ravens coming off of a win versus the Washington football team, 31-17. Not the best wins that they've had all season, but the Washington, like we said, the Washington football team is a very good defense, but they were out without Chase Young, and Lamar Jackson just doesn't perform well after losses or perform well in the postseason either. With that being said, tell me about the Ravens. Why you got them at number 4 and unchanged from last week?
Yeah, because they're, like I was talking about with the Steelers, I think the Ravens are one of those others that are competing to be the most balanced team in football. The quarterback play is so sloppy right now, though, and it's interesting to see that they are reverting from who they are as a squad, which is a run-heavy rushing, lead the league in rushing. You know, we're going to beat you by our QB rushing or our double-headed backs of Dobbins and Ingram. And instead, they're kind of reverting and playing down to the teams that they're playing currently's level.
Right.
They're not laying on the gas like they used to do, at least during the regular season last season. And just to see why they're doing that, it's frustrating. It's especially frustrating when you have Mark Ingram all over the place in fantasy football, and you know that he's not done, but they're treating him as almost as if he is. So I kept them where they were.
Yeah. So just to add to your point there, maybe the Ravens are learning, taking a play out of the playbook from the Patriots, saying like, we don't need to win 16 games this season. We want to win in January. So maybe taking the foot off the gas, like a little bit, will preserve them in January and beyond. However, it's not going to help too much. But just to add to your point there, Lamar Jackson is the leading rusher on the team right now with 39 attempts for 235 yards. Mark Ingram, like you just mentioned there, only has 34 touches for 148 yards.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to keep using your quarterback like that, and I think if Lamar Jackson gets hurt, misses a quarter, misses a game, this team is screwed.
A dumpster fire. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, who is their backup?
RG3. So you got RG3 as your backup, and I mean that's smart, kind of, just because he's similar, but he's not Lamar. And you know what I mean?
Injury prone as well,
but he can kind of scheme the same way. But I'm telling you, if you lose the MVP, it's a wrap. This team is a dumpster fire if that happens, and there's nowhere that they can go.
Yeah, well, they can go to the bottom of the top or the power rankings here 100%. And a team that keeps going up and up and up for you is the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. They are now 4-0 on the season, beating, I am thinking, an overlooked LA or a Las Vegas Raiders team.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of surprised at what the Raiders have been doing so far this season. But tell me about the Bills. Like, you had them at number 5 last week, up 2 spots now to number 3.
Yeah, so it's a team in Buffalo that I really don't want to give the respect that they deserve to, and that's why I've kind of hesitantly continued to move them up spots. But just the way Josh Allen is performing, and then you have that defense on the other side of the ball. I definitely agree with you that I feel that the Raiders are underdogs this year in the fact that, I mean, they beat a good Saints team, and just to see that they lost. The Bills beat the Raiders 30-23, and now they have to go to another big matchup this week against the Titans. That's going to be interesting as well. So it's interesting to see, and we'll go from there.
And as Tip chimes in, I believe he was referring to the who was referring? It had to have been the Ravens they were referring to, I guess. I don't know, because that was about 5-6 minutes ago. But nonetheless, like, looking at this Buffalo Bills team, Josh Allen is playing at MVP caliber level. I mean, hands down, I think he is the MVP through the first quarter of the season. The Bills defense is amazing. And you want to talk about tough schedules moving forward. Look at this Bills schedule moving forward. They're at Tennessee, and they Chiefs at home, then they're Jets bye week more or less, but then they play the Patriots, Seahawks, and the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And then they round out with the Chargers, 49ers, Steelers. I mean, they got a tough 8 games ahead of them. So we're going to see what the Buffalo Bills are made of coming soon. So do you foresee them being in the top 10 like at the end of this season?
I do. And another interesting thing about the Bills that you talked about their schedule, well, there's so many good teams on that schedule, so there's going to be so many more looks at a lot of the teams that are in my power rankings right now. You're going to be able to see how they rank because they're going to be playing this exclusive Bills team that, is so hard to scheme for because you just watch what they can do. And I'm not comparing Josh Allen to Patrick Mahomes, but he is a scheming nightmare to have to coach on the defensive side of the ball. So, I mean, he's showing consistency, and a lot of people give him shit because, he's not accurate, things of that nature. Well, when you have route runners like Stephon Diggs, who is arguably one of the best route runners in the league.
Yep.
They're wide open a lot of the time. So, I mean, if they play their cards smart and keep doing what they're doing, I foresee them in the top 10 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and like I said, I believe I had them going 10-6 this season, and I'm still sticking by that because of the tough schedule that they have ahead of them. And speaking of a tough schedule, the Green Bay Packers, they walloped the Atlanta Falcons last night, 30-16, moving them to 4-0 on the season. They have win over the Vikings, Lions, Saints, and now Falcons. And then they play the Buccaneers here in the upcoming weeks as well. They are unchanged from last week as well. You had them at number 2. Aaron freaking Rodgers doing his thing, also at MVP caliber level. What are your thoughts on the Packers moving forward?
The Packers are doing what they're doing without Devontae Adams. That in of itself is scary, man. Just to see the tight end play last night's game, things of that nature. I mean, to see Aaron Rodgers revamped when everybody thought that it was just going to be the rest of his career kind of being mediocrity and just floating through it and just be basically saying, I'm Aaron Rodgers, who gives a shit? I did what I did, and that makes me one of the best ever. To see the Packers being the Packers, it's tough, man, especially being a Vikings fan and having a show with the Green Bay fanatic. It's definitely tough, but they're basically my 1.5 team right now. It was real tough for me not to put them in the number 1 spot. However, I still think that the Chiefs reign supreme. I like the post that you had earlier about how are the Chiefs, the best 4-0 team ever. That you have to give some thought to it, but it was a great question.
So you let the cat out of the bag. You do have the Chiefs at number 1, and alluding to that post, so the Chiefs have started 4-0 the last 4 seasons. They're the only NFL team ever to do that in all of history of the NFL. So that's kind of what I was saying. Sure. Are they the best team ever right now because of their starts that they had the last 4 seasons? Granted, they only have 1 Super Bowl out of it, but you line up off sides. Thank you, D Ford. You crush my soul still. So I mean, they could have easily had two Super Bowls easily. But with that being said, the Chiefs, they did win last night. It was an ugly win versus the Patriots. But tell me why you have the Chiefs at number 1 still.
I mean, it's an ugly win against the Patriots, but it's still a win against the Patriots. And I realize it's without their QB1, all the other excuses that you have, but it's still a Belichick coached team. And those are always going to be tough because Belichick never writes off any week. So I give the Chiefs the benefit of the doubt in that aspect. The other aspect is the Chiefs have the best coach in football, man, Andy Reid. And just to see what Andy Reid can do on a week-to-week basis and how he can ration his team and make it so that there isn't any one person on that offensive side of the ball that you can take out of the game, and therefore you take the Chiefs out of the game. There's so many weapons. It's an endless supply. Even guys on the bench are weapons, and people don't even know it yet. So, I mean, I would like to see more production out of Clyde. I think last night it was just a slow burn in and of itself. But yeah, I think once they let that cat out of the bag, I think they're kind of almost keeping Clyde. Not that he's having a crap season for a rookie, but I think they're almost keeping him on the back burner right now until they really need to let him explode, because he will explode. That's for damn sure.
Well, and I mean, like, I am an avid Chiefs fan, obviously, and I follow the team very, very closely. And you still realize that we have 3 running backs for that team right now, even with Damian Williams opting out for the COVID season. So we could, in theory, have 4 tailbacks on this team that could produce on any other team of the NFL. Plus, they have 6 receivers. I mean, like just like what you alluded to, they have people on the bench. Byron Pringle comes to mind. He is a number 6 receiver on that team. He still runs a 4.19 40-yard dash, and he leads all the receiving records at Kansas State University. And he is sitting on the bench. He is a special teams blocker on kickoff return. So I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're the only way you are going to able to ever beat this team is keep their offense off of the field. Much like what the Falcons tried to do to the Packers last night when they had that 99-yard drive. That has to be the most demoralizing thing ever. A 99-yard drive and settle for a field goal. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that is how teams are going to have to beat the Kansas City Chiefs to keep their offense off of the field moving forward.
Yeah.
So, the Chiefs do improve to 4-0 last night with the win over the Patriots, 26-10. So that gives us I believe it's 6 undefeated teams right now in this young NFL season. Like you had the Bills, you have the Chiefs,
Packers.
Who else we got here?
We have Steelers,
Titans, and
no Titans in here, but yeah, they're undefeated, of course. Seahawks,
and Seahawks, yes. So, what team do you see that is undefeated right now going into Week 5 of the NFL season? What team will be the last undefeated team in the NFL season?
Oh, great question. I like that one a lot. I would have to say that as of right now, I'm gonna give it to the Pack. And that's scary. I don't think that there will be an undefeated team past Week 7. I think that past Week 7, there will no longer be any undefeated teams in the league. I think the scheduling is just too tough on these teams. If you look at the schedules for all these undefeated teams, the rubber is about to hit the road if it already hasn't. And you might pull out one here and there, but when you start going on the roads, fans or not, it doesn't matter, man. And that's another thing that you're hearing a lot of players talk about this year is that home games are home games, but on the road, there isn't that diversity of it. You're still hearing there's so much communication, whether you have 5,000 fans in the stands, whatever it is, it really doesn't matter. I had some buddies that went down to the Texans-Vikings game, and they said they would never pay for tickets to go to a game again this season if it was going to be the limited attendance, because they would have had more fun watching it at home, for one, and for two, it was so eerie that you didn't even want to be there. It felt like you weren't even at a sporting event. It was like, JV getting ready for the senior squad. So
right. And speaking of, we saw the effects of no fans was when Aaron Rodgers was at the Metrodome or the Super or whatever the Saints Stadium, and he's doing hard counts on the road. Drawing them off like offsides. It's absolutely ridiculous. But look at the Packers schedule moving forward. So you said like Week 7 they might lose and they'll be the last undefeated team. Their next game up is the Buccaneers on the road, and they're on the road at the Houston Texans, and they play the Vikings, 49ers, and Jaguars. So I think if they get past that Bucs game, that's a very, very good shot.
Definitely, I do think so. I think that trap game is going to be San Fran. And even the Jaguars, they might not be a good team, but they are a trap team. They are a trap team for anybody that's scheming against them. They say, oh, we just got the Jaguars this week. Look at what happened to the Rams going into this week. They thought they just had the Giants, right? Well, that was almost a trap game in of itself. So if the best teams in the league are going to be able to come in, week out, and not visualize their opponent, they're going to just realize we need to perform. Otherwise, it's 1 week at a time. It's kind of like the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. PJ Fleck always says it's a 1 week season, right? We're 0-0. That's what it's all about, man. That's how you get good teams, and that's what it's going to come down to. So,
yeah, and like my picks are going to come down basically to these head-to-head matchups moving forward, because you have the Titans versus the Bills coming up next week, and then you have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Bills like the following week.
Yeah,
I think whoever wins that Tennessee Bills game is going to be the last undefeated team moving forward. If it's the Tennessee Titans, they'll still finish 8-8. I don't care if they start 8-0 or not. They're still going to finish 8-8 because of the back end of their schedule was pretty tough. And then, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have a fairly easier schedule. They have the Jets and Broncos coming up. But with all that being said, Matt, as always, thank you for giving us your power ranking. So just to recap here, guys, we do have number 10, the Cleveland Browns, number 9, the Rams, number 8, the Buccaneers. Number 7, you got the Saints, unchanged from last week. Seahawks, and then we have number 5, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 4, the Ravens. 3, Bills. 2, Packers. And number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. Are there any teams on the outside looking in right now that got their toes dipping in the top 10?
Yeah, I think definitely the Titans do. They're the team that I don't want to give respect to as well. They don't have a loss, and they have a tough schedule coming up. So that's going to be interesting to see how that clings up. Other than that, the Bears are hot trash, but my other team that I like is the Colts. We've continued to ride with the Colts even through adversity. That team is just so well coached, but also if you can get it done with Phillip Rivers, which is not easy. It's not an easy task to get it done with Phillip Rivers, but if you can, look out, man, because you got Jonathan Taylor back there just bruising. And I think a lot of people expected the Colts to break out, but why would you expect the running game to break out against the Bears? I mean, a lot of people were like, oh, he had a shit game. Dude, it's the Bears defense, man. It's still
a good defense.
The Monsters at Midway. It is still what it is. But that offense, though, I thought Trubisky wasn't starting the game, and then you saw Foles come in, and you thought it was Trubisky, except he wasn't running around. So just hot shit for that quarterback, and I'm glad I could take some of Combs' cash. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, so you're going to be on Triple Shot Sports later tonight, and definitely give it to Combs 100% because Nick Foles is an habitual backup quarterback.
Yeah.
But Benz, thank you for being on here. We'll talk to you next week. Guys, check out Benzi's Bit over on the All Access Sports Network. He's live Tuesdays at 11 a.m. East Coast time. And then also Twist Nation Saturdays at noon Central time. So
beautiful.
Any closing thoughts, Ben, before we let you go?
Not really, man, other than how about those Vikings? Wow, I wish we would have lost, and we'll get beat real bad by the Seahawks this weekend. Other than that, thanks for having me on twistsportstalk.com. Peace.
All right, man. Guys, we're going to take a quick little break. On the other side of the break, we got the 2-minute warning coming up. Guys, stay tuned here on the Mike and Mike Man Hour. Welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckeyes here, live, raw, and uncut sports talk coming at you here on the Tuesday edition, manhour.com. Head over there, guys. Check us out. We got hats, hoodies, and T-shirts as well. Mike and Mike manhour.com. Check us out. Give us a donation over there as well. Always give those shout-outs to whoever has purchased, like Jameson did the other night. He purchased a hat, and I believe he got the all-black one. Mine is the white on black. I should have got all black. I mean, all black is the way to go, 100%. So, guys, we had Matt Benz on earlier from All Access Sports Network, giving us his NFL power rankings like we do every Tuesday. And those power rankings are a little suspect. I'm going to say. I mean, putting the Browns in at number 10. I mean, come on. I mean, the Browns are the Browns. They find new ways to lose every year, and yes, they're 3-1, awesome, but they'll still finish 7-9. I mean, they got a tough schedule moving forward, so we'll see how they do. And then the Rams. Yes, I was high on the Rams until Sunday when I saw the Giants did what they did to them. It was a 10-9 game late in the fourth quarter. I believe it was like 4 minutes left, and the Giants just basically shit the bed. They sent the blitz. They left the middle wide open for Cooper Kupp for a 60-yard touchdown pass. I mean, yes, they're still losing the game, but it was a 10-9 to score when you're struggling against the Giants. The Giants are hot garbage right now. Meaning, yes, you still got to have the Bucks in the top 10. You know, they're doing well. They're 3-1. Things are starting to click. Saints, the Saints at number 7. This is the biggest head scratcher. I think. I'm not for sure if you can have a 500 team in the top 10. If you are a part of our trash talk groups, which you should be, head over to facebook.com, search Sports Trash Talk, and the first one that comes up is the Mike and Mike Man, our Sports Trash Talk group. Jameson posted that you should not have a 500 team in the top 10 ever. And I disagree with that, but this early in the season, it is hard to put the Saints in the top 10 when they are a 500 ball club. And then, of course, he has the Seahawks in at number 6. Like I said, I have them at number 2. I think the Seahawks are easily one of the, if not the best team in the NFL right now, behind the Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs as well. So just to give you guys my top 10 that I would have right now, I would put the Green Bay Packers in at number 1, the Seattle Seahawks at number 2, the Chiefs at number 3. I do like the Steelers at number 4. Coming in at number 5, the Buffalo Bills. Number 6, I would slide in the Buccaneers like in there. I mean, yes, probably a little high, but you know what? It is what it is. Number 7, I'm going to put the Indianapolis Colts in there. Number 8, the Tennessee Titans. Number 9, I am going to slide in the Patriots. I still think the Patriots are a really, really good team. Not having Cam last night definitely hurt the morale of the team. Would it affect the outcome? No, but it would affect their performance, the look of the game and the feel for the game for them. And then at number 10, I'm going to slide in the Chicago Bears to give Brandon Coombs some love. So, yeah, that is that. And guys, it is that special time of day. Let me get the sounds queued up here. It is time for the 2-minute warning.
That'll bring us to the 2-minute warning.
And on today's 2-minute warning, guys, if you guys have been living under a rock, we kind of alluded to it earlier a little bit, but the Houston Texans finally fired Bill O'Brien from head coach in the NFL, or the Houston Texans GM, late last night, or early afternoon, I should say. This is 3 years too late for the Houston Texans. He's been there for 7 years, and he has given up a 28-point lead in the playoffs. He's given up a 21-point lead in the playoffs and a 17-point lead in the playoffs, all first-round games as well. So, Bill O'Brien, I'm sorry that you lost your job. I'm sorry that you lost your general manager job. But Houston Texans, you were digging your own grave when you made him the general manager and the head football coach. You cannot double dip like that 100%. And then he traded in the best receiver that you ever had, or probably will ever have, for a 7th-round draft pick, and Johnson, a running back that hasn't done shit for you since week 1. Houston Texans, you guys might as well tank this season. 0-16. I don't like Romeo Crennel either as a Chiefs fan. He didn't do shit for us either. So Houston Texans and Bill O'Brien, sorry that you guys are getting a divorce, but at the end of the day, Houston Texans, you got it coming for you. Bill O'Brien should probably never land another job ever in the NFL again with the performance that he's done in Houston. But that's that. Mike and MikeManhour.com, guys. Head over there, pick up a t-shirt. Head over to the YouTube channel. Tomorrow, same time, same place, 1 p.m. East Coast time, right on the YouTube channel. Have a good day.